Looking for a car you can count on? At AutoMasters, we offer a hand-picked selection of used and certified pre-owned vehicles priced right and ready to drive. With easy financing and expert service, AutoMasters is your trusted dealership from test drive to keys in hand. AutoMasters, driven by trust, powered by service. Visit our website at automasters06.com or stop by today. And oh yeah, tell them Sonia sent you.
She say, sports. She say, sports. She say, sports. She say, sports.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia, and welcome back to She Say Sports. Please welcome co-creator and co-host of the Hits and Heels podcast. Football coach at Crawford Middle School and with the Derby City Dynamite women's tackle football team, Coach Terri Mims Bryant. What's up, Coach?
What's up? Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining me today. So, I actually saw you on Chat in the Garden with Monique AJ Smith, and I was like, I gotta get her on the show because I was looking at your stuff and I'm like, I got to talk to her about this coaching thing and this flag football. I love it. I absolutely love it. So, Coach, let's get right into it. You're a former multi-sport athlete yourself. Where did your love for sport begin, and what sports do you compete in? What sports did you compete in, rather?
So my love started in the fourth grade at field day, and I
Mm.
broke a school record in like the broad jump. Like that was the first time I broke a school record, and then I was
Wow.
hooked ever since then because I was better than faster and than everyone and more athletic than everyone else in the school that I was in, and then that kind of translated on into middle school and high school and even in high school, my senior year, I was the co-athlete of the year for, my class. And so that's where it was. So I ran track. I ran the 200 to 400. I
Mhm.
played basketball. I played center and forward, and I played volleyball. And I
Wow.
also played softball, and I like bowling.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you are I'm thinking you just had four sports. And see, a lot of
Yes,
people
ma'am.
look at bowling as a sport, but it is a sport. So absolutely. I love bowling, but I'm not as an athlete. No. I just like to, roll the ball down. But so were there any skills or lessons from one sport that helped you excel in others? I know this track and the basketball probably.
Yeah, especially like the basketball because it's so fast paced and you have
Hmm.
to be able to think quickly. But even in basketball, you have to be able to read the defense. And that definitely translated into football because in football on offense, you have to be able to read the defense and vice versa. You have to be able to read both sides of the ball in order to strategize in order to win
Right.
the game. So basketball definitely translated directly into that. Softball kind of taught me focus and
Hmm.
discipline because it's so slow.
It's so slow.
And volleyball, I think maybe taught me more of the team concept without having to have the ball. Like you could
Gotcha.
be a team, but I don't necessarily had to have the ball in my hands.
Hmm.
And that's what volleyball kind of taught.
I love that. So looking back, would you have done anything differently in your athletic career?
I think I would have I wish I knew how to advocate for myself because I tore my ACL my freshman year in high school,
Mm.
and it went undiagnosed until I went overseas and played and tore my other ACL. So I actually was
Oh my
playing with
God.
2 tore ACLs at one time. So all through high school,
Wow.
I played with a torn ACL. Of course, with volleyball and volleyball and track, it wasn't it wasn't as it wasn't as noticeable as it was with basketball with going lateral. But as long
Okay.
as you're going up and down, it's not as bad even with a tore ACL. So but that's what I wish I knew then what I knew now, like how to advocate for myself, like, look, there's something wrong, like, but you don't know what you don't know. And back then,
Mhm.
ACL tears weren't, they weren't getting diagnosed like they are now.
Right. And also because you were so young, I mean, were you still feeling the pain, but you just thought it was just being an athlete pain? I'm doing four
Yeah.
sports. So,
Like, my knee would literally, like, dislocate, and then so I would
mm,
be out for, like, about a couple of days, and,
wow.
I would just ice and elevate it until the swelling went down or till the pain kinda subsided, and then it went from there. But I'll be honest with you, like, because of taking, like, so back then, my parents were military, so they would always prescribe, like, big old bottles of Motrin. My kidneys have suffered because of all of the taking
Oh,
all the Motrin just at such a young age for so long.
wow. Interesting, interesting. So now, Coach, you're coaching football and track football at Crawford Middle School and the Derby City Dynamite women's tackle football team, where you made history as the first female assistant coach, and now you serve as the team's director of marketing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is awesome stuff. So what motivated you to move into coaching after your athletic career?
Was actually I was playing and my knee went out and I was on the sideline. Our coach had an issue where he couldn't be at the game, and I kinda filled in as the coach, and so I kinda caught the bug at that time, being on the sideline
Okay, being
and
on the
coaching a
side.
team at that time, and that kinda gave me the interest, and then I took a job at Crawford. Wasn't my intention
Mhm.
to coach, but the head basketball coach had quit, like, 2 weeks before the season, so they really needed somebody to kinda step in, like,
So you became an
immediately, and
interim.
so I just yeah, so I said, "Well, can I take it?" I didn't have no idea what I was doing, but the second year, we go undefeated and win the championship my second year.
Hold on, hold the phone. You were the head coach,
Yes, ma'am.
and y'all went undefeated the second season.
Undefeated in our second season, yeah. In our third season, we went undefeated, but lost in the championship game.
That's amazing.
And that game
Very
still haunts
commendable.
me to this day. Losing that championship game still haunts me to this
Wow.
day. It's
Very
been like
commendable.
12 years, yes.
And so you've been the coach there for 12 years then. You're still the
I took a break, and then,
okay,
when my okay, so then when my son,
'cause your
was
son
playing
played football,
plays
right?
football, right? So when he as a freshman in high school, he was starting, and my husband was coaching at a different school. So my husband stepped down from coaching high school because he wanted to be able to watch our son play on
Mhm.
Friday nights. He didn't want there to be
Right.
a conflict. Because we thought he was gonna be playing like freshman or JV as a freshman, and
Mhm.
they play on a different night. So he was gonna continue
Okay.
coaching, but then now it was a conflict on Friday night. So he took a year off, and then somehow the Crawford football position came about. He came and asked me, did hey, should he take it? I said, "Oh, absolutely." Because I know how much you love coaching and I
Mhm.
know how much you miss it. And so when he took the position, he made me his assistant head coach because
Right.
of my experience as a head coach. And of course, I was also familiar with the school because that was the same school that I had previously had coached
Right.
basketball and track at. Yes, ma'am.
I love it. So I love the sacrifices that you guys made for your son because you wanted to support him. And, it's nothing like being, looking in the stands and you see your parents. I never played sport. I love sport, but I never played. But I sing and I played violin for 12 years. And looking in the stands, seeing my mom or my sister, my dad didn't really come too much, but seeing them, it makes a difference. It
That
really does.
support makes a difference. Yes,
That's
ma'am.
absolutely. So, how did your experience as a multi-sport athlete shape your approach to coaching football and track?
Um, because there's just so many different aspects of each sport, and
Mhm.
so and then you can't coach every kid the same,
That's true.
right? And so because you can't coach every kid the same, being a multi-sport athlete helps you to not have that like a tunnel type vision on
Gotcha.
how you should coach or how the game should go, because it's so different. Each sport is just so different, has a different dynamic that it
Right.
brings to the table, that helped with coaching.
And you're right. Yeah, children. I mean, all kids are different.
And all kids are different. Yes, you can't,
That's
and
true.
that's one of the things I had to learn early on, was that I couldn't coach all, like, at first I was like I was a hard type coach. I'm cussing and all that type of stuff and off the chain. I was off chain, but they were respectable, receptive to it.
Mhm.
But then later on, as I got older, or as I started coaching different sports, or even coaching
There
with
you
the
go.
boys, especially coaching the women,
Hmm.
um, I had to change my approach on how I coached and how I talked, and how, just how I went about practices, and my intensity level, because I'm intense.
So before I move on with the other questions, I want to ask you about the flag. Tell me about the women's flag team, um, football team, and how is it? Like you said, I know you had to change the way you, I guess, talk to the ladies or whatever versus the young men, but I know it's a total difference with coaching the boys and coaching the ladies. And what is the age group for the girls, well, the women's flag team?
So I just wanted to let you know that it's actually a women's tackle football team.
Tackle, not flag.
Oh,
I'm
no, no
sorry.
problem. Okay. Yeah, no, no, no,
I'm
no,
so
that's no
sorry.
problem. I
You was
just
like,
wanted
wait
that
a
to be
minute.
clear, because so many people have no idea that women's tackle football
And it's
exists,
real. It's
and
real.
it's real.
Now
Yes.
they may have changed it, but I remember we had a women's flag
Hmm.
football team here, but they may have changed it. But you're right. It is a
Now,
total
there are
difference.
plenty of flag women's teams as well, but I just wanted
Mhm.
to be clear that my team is a
You like,
women's
we're not
tackle foot.
soft.
Yeah, we're not soft at all. And it's so funny because I think the youngest just turned 20. I think she maybe just turned 20, 21.
Mhm.
Um, we have some right out of high school, and my center is 51, getting ready to turn 52 years
Get
old.
out.
Yes, my outside linebacker is 42. I have
So she's the
a
oldest out of the
defensive
whole
end.
group.
Yes, I have a defensive end that's 45, 46. My middle linebacker is 35. Yes, ma'am. So yeah,
I
we
love it.
actually have probably more older than we do the younger. Um, so I'm glad that you did bring up flag, because I am trying to spearhead flag football in Kentucky so that it could help to create a pipeline for the women's tackle football team.
So why do you think it's so important for women to play football? When we were growing up, of course, that was definitely a man's game. When I was playing in the neighborhood or whatever, I'm my sister was more athletic than me. I'm almost 6 feet. She's 5'5", but she could play basketball. They never wanted me to play. They just would like, you just stand under the goal and get the ball, do whatever. They be a cheerleader, Sonya, just go. But I used to still try to play with them until these girls got a little bigger and I couldn't, it started
Right.
hurting. But why is it so important for women to be able to play this sport
I mean, I
in your
just think
eyes?
that, to me, it's just, for me, football is probably the number one sport for a young man to
Mhm.
learn life skills, right? And so I think that women probably miss out on the life skills that football teaches. Football teaches things that just other sports just don't teach, like
You're
just
right.
the mental toughness that's involved with just getting hit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just like a mental toughness. And so, and just being able to compete, there's just some things that you learn as a young man that you don't
Mhm.
learn as a woman, because you're not put in that, because you didn't play that sport.
Correct.
And just from coaching and watching the game over the years for football, I just noticed that is like one of the biggest things that, and then for women, it's probably more therapy, because you don't, I mean, like, you literally get to hit somebody legally.
That's true.
You get
Now
to
you
hit
got a
somebody
point
le you
there.
get to legally hit somebody. So so as women, we're always going through it. We have a lot of women that have had just unspoken of childhood traumas that they still
Mhm.
probably need to go to therapy for. And so now when they're going through it, like one of my biggest things is be like, well, whoever, ticked you off, pretend that that's the person across from you that you're
Right.
getting ready to block and take it out and just take it out on them. And
Mm-hmm.
so what other opportunity do you have that besides going to like a rage room? You know what I
Or
mean?
either
To
the
be able to,
crashing the
yes, yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
you're right.
Besides going and paying for a rage room and stuff, but then you also have the camaraderie and the community that comes with being a team. And all you get that from all teams though, but it's something about football. And then I think it's also that because we weren't allowed to play,
And now I can.
and
Okay,
now
I
I
got
can. And
so
yeah, I wasn't able to play back in the day when I wanted to be able to play. I wasn't
mhm.
allowed to play, but now I have an opportunity to play.
So when does the season start and how many games do you guys play?
So we started in April. We actually have our last regular season game this Saturday. We're in Atlanta this Saturday, and
Okay.
we play 6 games, and then we'll start a playoff. There's usually like 1 or 2 playoff games, and then the championship game concludes in Canton, Ohio, at the Hall of Fame field where the NFL Hall of Fame is
I love
on
it.
their field.
Oh, how many teams are in the division or the conference?
So I'm in the WFA, which is the Women's Football Alliance, and they have like 43 teams across
Mhm.
across the nation, but they've also started international where they have like Mexico and some other areas, and they just recently mentioned that they're getting ready to expand in Canada.
Wow. And I didn't realize it was that big. We actually have a women's tackle football team here as well. So, and they've been doing pretty good. I think they're probably about maybe 4 or 5 years old now. So they've been
What team is yours?
I can't think of the
What
name. I'll
city?
think it's I'm in Mississippi, but it's Mississippi
Okay. The Panthers. So
Panthers.
they're
Yeah,
in
yeah,
a
yeah.
different so there's like multiple leagues, and
I
in their
see.
league, yeah, so which is I don't know why, because again, sometimes us as women, sometimes we're like we just can't get along. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Sometimes that's the issue,
Yeah,
right? And so there are 2 leagues, and I think the Mississippi Panthers are a very, very, very good team. And
they are.
and I think they either won or lost in a championship game last year, but I know they won the championship game a
Hmm.
couple times. And they're in the WNFA, I believe. So there's
Okay.
2 different leagues, and I'm not sure how many teams that league has.
Okay. Wow, that's
But we're the
amazing.
largest and the most like long standing. We've been around the longest, and we're the largest league. The
I love
WNF, the WFA is. Yeah.
that's what's up.
I'm
I
excited about
know
I love it.
I know I can tell. I know I kind of left the questions, but I was like,
It's okay.
I gotta know. I wanted to
Yeah.
hear a
Yes,
little bit
ma'am.
about them. So, Coach, what lessons from your playing career do you try to pass on to your teams?
Biggest lesson for me is that is whatever your dreams are, make sure you follow them. Like one of the things that I wish it's not a regret, but I wish I had better mentorship. And
Mhm.
so I definitely
Yeah.
focus on if there's something that you want to do, go seek a mentor. And I wish
Mhm.
I would have had mentorship growing up because I wouldn't have just, you know, I was one of them people that just looked for a job, found a job, and then sometimes we get stuck in a job that we ain't got no business being in the first place
Oh
because
yeah.
it just pays the bills, you know.
Mhm.
And so that's just something that, I mean, I don't know about it. That's what I got caught up in. Right. And it was just
I
paying the
feel you.
bills. But it wasn't what I wanted to do. It was just some
Mhm.
place that I just showed up to just to get a paycheck. But I wish that I would have had some type of mentorship that would have helped me to um stay in sports as a occupation my whole life,
Yeah. I
or
agree.
even got into coaching earlier. But there's so many other jobs that are attached to sports that I probably could have got into, and I just didn't know. I just didn't know what I didn't know.
We didn't know we grew up in a different era and the options are so amazing and so they have so many options now. These kids. So like I have I got my master's in sports administration in 14, but because I was at a particular age at that point, I'm in my early 40s. I'm like, I got to stay with this job because if I go work in sport, I'm going to take like a $20,000 hit, maybe more. And it's just
And then
like,
if you have children,
absolutely.
your time away from that, you're always at the field. Like even coach, if I was
Yeah.
as a basketball coach, you got the recruiting. You're always recruiting. If you're not having a game, you're either at practice, at a game, you're watching film,
Right.
and so it really does take away from a family. And I think that's why I do have a lot of respect for um women coaches
Hmm.
that do that, because they have to have an absolute tremendous support
Support
system
system. Yeah.
in order to be able to coach the way that they do. And I just don't think that those spouses they don't get enough they don't get enough
Credit
props
and
for or credit
yeah.
for the level. And I think that those type of relationships to me are like the best examples for athletes.
Hmm.
Like even with me and my husband coaching together, they get to see us work together
Hmm.
as a couple. And a lot of them, don't see a mom and a dad together in a household. So
Right.
we kind of get to play mom and dad, and
I love that.
they get to see just a different that it can work, and
Mm.
sometimes they see us bicker, and even if if I disagree with something, I always give him the respect that he is the head coach and this is his team, and I'm only here to support him. And so sometimes that kind of translates into the household for us. He's the head of the
Mhm.
household. He's got the last say. And so I try to give my husband that respect, because I didn't really grow up seeing that level of
Right.
respect on either side
Gotcha.
sometimes.
I
Hmm.
understand. And we're gonna go back to you and your husband
Yes, ma'am.
in just a second. But Coach, Coach T, you also are a founding board member of the Lexington African American Sports Hall of Fame and a leading voice in the movement to expand girls flag football in Kentucky, as you mentioned earlier. Tell us how you got involved in the LAASHOF and what is your mission for expansion for the Hall of Fame?
Listen, the Hall of Fame is probably my most favorite project that I'm
Mhm.
involved in. There is nothing like, first of all, the leadership. Shout out to Bobby and Jennifer that had the vision to bring it out. It was nothing like seeing somebody that has a vision for something,
Mhm.
talk about it, and then implement it and execute it. Like
Right.
that alone is inspiring, because people talk about stuff all the time.
Mhm.
And then there was a lot of pushback from people in the community about what we should have did and how they should have did it. I said, but none of y'all didn't start your own.
Correct.
You should have started your own, and then you're not coming in with us to help us to make it right. So we
Mhm.
don't want to hear any of that pushback
Right.
from it, because we don't get paid to do it. It's strictly volunteer. My husband and I both were invited to be on the board, and we accepted, and we were just
Mhm.
absolutely honored, because neither one of us are from Lexington, and they invited us to be on the board to help them to bring that into fruition. But I'm gonna tell you right now, the biggest part that I think a lot of people don't see is that, like, back in the day, there were black only schools. So we had a Paul Lawrence Dunbar and we had a Frederick Douglass that was all black. And now we have those schools now, and now they're integrated, right?
Right.
But those athletes were just didn't they don't show up in anything as far as Kentucky High School Association. And so they don't get the props and the recognition that they probably deserve, because they were dominating against all of the KSA
Gotcha.
stuff back in the
Mhm.
day, and they just didn't get those recognition. So those are the best ones that I love to be able to just recognizing those people that just have never gotten their flowers, and just how they feel and how we come together as a community. It's
Mhm.
a black tie event, and so we're dolled up. My husband and I are on the red carpet again this year. We got asked to do the red carpet. Um I push myself onto the stage, and the people that I know, I'm
Mhm.
presenting them their plaques, and it has been an honor. Picking up the phone and calling them and letting them know that they've been inducted and getting their reactions is just amazing.
So
It
what
again, I just can't say enough about just that project is just absolutely amazing.
in what year do y'all have the your gala?
The gala is September the 20th. This will be our fourth gala coming up.
Has Lancaster Gordon been is he in the Hall of Fame there yet? He played for Kentucky. He's from Jackson, Mississippi.
Lancaster, I
Gordon.
don't I don't know that
So
name, but I'm
he's
writing it down
old
right
school.
now.
He went
Okay, now is he from
he,
Lexington though, or was he
no, I
recruited
thought
in?
because he played, yeah, he's from Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah,
He played
right.
In
So
Kentucky.
so so he wouldn't be eligible because
Okay.
he's not a resident of
Okay.
Lexington. So this is particularly
I think
people
he still
that
lives
are.
there. Yeah, he's
Does he
there.
still live here? What's
Hmm.
his name? Lancaster
Lancaster Gordon. He went in the NBA, I think in '82. He was in the first round. Um,
basketball. He's a basketball player.
basketball. Yep.
I'll look him up
Yeah,
and I'll
he
see
was
and
on
I'll
the
see.
show a few years ago, and last time I talked with him, he was still in
L-
Kentucky.
yeah, Okay,
He never came back here.
okay.
Hmm.
Gotcha. I'll definitely look him up. And
Yeah,
that's part of it too, is that we're always telling people to, we don't know who's out there and we don't know.
right.
And a lot of the people that do or probably deserve to be inducted don't show up in Google. So it's not like we can just
Mhm.
Google them.
Gotcha.
We've got to have people that have newspaper
Some type of
clippings and some
fingerprint.
type of reference. Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Paraphernalia or whatever that can validate what they've done so that we can make sure
Gotcha.
that they're properly um, you know, celebrated. And one of the things I do like about the African American is that we brought attention to people that should have been inducted. Like in our
Mm.
first year, we have a gentleman by the name of Coach Chandler who was the first African American to play baseball at Vanderbilt University. And how come? So our first year was 2022.
Right.
So how come
Hmm.
he wasn't already in Vanderbilt's Hall of Fame? But after we inducted him, then
Then
he
they
got.
put him.
Yes, ma'am. He got. Yeah, so we've seen that on several occasions
Wow.
where we inducted another gentleman named Chris Chenault who was number 3 on the list at the University
Mm.
of Kentucky for tackling football. How come he wasn't already in there? But after we inducted him in ours, he got inducted into theirs. Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
sometimes, you have to just be the first one to make it happen, and then it'll, have the
And then
snowball.
yes,
That's
ma'am.
awesome. So, Coach, you are co-creator and co-host of the Hits and Heels podcast, along with your husband. You two have formed one of the only husband and wife football coach duos in the nation, as we mentioned earlier. And I only know of one more husband and wife coaching duo. That's Mississippi Hall of Fame coach Dot Murphy and her husband, Gene Murphy. She became the first female coach in the National Junior College Athletic Association in 1984 at Hines Junior College in Raymond, Mississippi. And several players that played under her made it to the NFL. Cedric Donaldson, Fred Smoot, uh, it was about 5 of them. I can't remember.
What's her
Yeah,
name?
Dot Murphy, and she played basketball, and she's in the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame.
And she
She's
coached
amazing.
basketball or football?
She was a coach. She was assistant coach to her husband in playing football, but she played basketball herself.
Gotcha.
And she
Oh,
was
wow.
yeah, she was amazing. She was the first one for the junior college in 1984. I think she was the first one. Yeah,
I guarantee she
especially in
probably was.
'84. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing with me with that is that there's not a whole lot of men that are putting their wives onto
Mm-hmm.
their staff, and so that's amazing. I have to get her story.
Yeah, she's actually my friend on Facebook. I'm gonna connect you, ladies. She is
Yeah,
amazing. I
absolutely. I would
love
love
Coach
to
Dot.
bring her on and hear her story about how she was a football coach.
It's
Absolutely.
amazing. I love her. So you kind of said a little bit earlier, but what is it like working together as husband and wife coaching team?
I love it. I mean,
Wow.
like this time of the season, I'm coaching the Derby City Dynamite. Track just finished, and then he's coaching baseball. So we get a break from
Y'all
each
year
other.
round.
Yes, ma'am. So we get a break from each other from like December until July. But from July until December, we're it's both of us together, and it's really fun. My husband is, oh my God, he's so good at what he does, and I just love how he mentors young men, and and then he's made me a better coach by being up under him. But at the same time, even though he's been coaching probably 3 times as long as I have, he's also been able to kind of learn some things and pick some things up from me as well. And so it's just
Hey,
it just works for us. We
I,
love
lo-
it.
I I love the admiration you have for him, which is pretty dope. And you mentioned earlier, and my next question was, how do you balance your personal relationship with your husband being on a coaching staff? But you mentioned it earlier. You show him respect. He is the head coach as well as the head of the household. And even though it's different um, faces, it's still the same.
Still the same. Yes, ma'am.
You decided to be assistant coach under him like your assistant coach at home. So I love that.
Yes, ma'am.
So how would you describe each other's coaching style?
Um, I thought that was a good question. He kind of reminds me of like a Bill Belichick,
Mm,
but with a little bit more enthusiasm because he likes to crack jokes and he likes to laugh. Whereas Bill Belichick is
okay.
real rigid, right?
Right.
And I think I'm
Well,
kind of
not
more.
look, not with this new girlfriend. He coming
Well,
out with
not with
it.
this new girl. Yeah, not with this new girlfriend. And and so everything has to be just a certain way, and he's very meticulous, and he's very um disciplined and doing things the right way and that type of stuff, whereas I'm more of the motivator, or getting everybody hype
Mhm.
and that type of stuff. So I almost feel like we're almost like Belichick and Deion Sanders, kind of like
I
whereas the
love it.
motivation type, that type stuff. I think that's kind of how our styles are kind of like.
And you need that though. It's like,
Yes, and it balances us. You don't
in
you
a
don't
sense,
want two coaches too rigid, and then you don't
right.
want two coaches too soft either.
It's kind of like
So
good cop, bad cop in a
God,
sense,
yes,
just a little bit, but
just a little bit.
I like that. You need that though, because they need the sternness from the, like you said, a lot of them don't have a two parent.
Fathers and stuff at home. Yeah,
Yeah, so they need the sternness from him and the motherly support. You can do it. Come on, you got this.
yeah,
Stop.
absolutely.
You got this. So it
And it's
works.
so funny because everybody says I'm actually the meanest coach.
I believe it, and the reason why I think because when you started coaching, you had to kind of change up a little bit because it's boys. And it's just like they think they can run over, oh, she's a lady. She don't so I think you
Hmm.
kind of had to do it, but it's still it's maternal in there, I'm sure. Very maternal.
Yes, yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm known as the mean coach. He's the fun coach. Mhm.
I love it. I love it. So coach, y'all do everything together because you also have a podcast together as well. Tell us who came up with the idea of Hits and Heels podcast and how did the team come together? How did y'all come together with this?
Okay, so I started it with the co-host. Her name was Danny Wright, and we got connected, kind of like you and I got connected
Mhm.
because she was coaching middle school football at the time in Ohio. So a
Okay.
mutual friend kind of put us together. We connected right off the rip, of course, and then some of our conversations, it just was ended up being like, she was like, man, this is like a podcast. It should be like a podcast. Our conversation should be like a podcast. And she had did a podcast before. I don't even like speaking in public. Like,
Mhm.
I don't even. So she came up with the concept that she put everything on paper and the
Mhm.
logo and did everything. All I had to do was just show up. And then she got about a month after we started the podcast, she got practically her dream job. Um, she was working for the HBCU conference. It was the GCAC at the time. And
Mm-hmm.
that was her dream job under Dr. Kiki Barnes.
Oh, that's my
And
girl.
yes. And so that was her dream job. And so then, we still tried to kind of maintain it, maybe like the first couple of seasons, but because of her schedule, she just wasn't able to maintain coming on as a guest
You talking
consistently.
about Danny Wright? She's the AD Xavier now, right? Is it
Is
Xavier?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where she is now. I thought she was still with them, but I'm not sure.
But go ahead. I'm
Um,
sorry. Sorry to cut
and
you off.
no problem. And so then later on, if I didn't have a guest or I would wait till the last minute to get a guest and I didn't have it, I would just ask my husband to just come on real quick. And so looking
Oh,
at the numbers and the feedback, everybody was like, "We love when y'all are both on there together." And so the feedback
gotcha.
kind of just automatically was just like, well, how about I just make you my new just permanent co-host? Since everybody likes us, and more feedback was, when the both of us was on, everybody just liked the feedback. So we always run into people like, man, we watch y'all podcast, y'all are funny, or y'all are good together, or
Mhm.
we love y'all's energy and how y'all feed off each other. Because he's the same way on the podcast. It's how we coach. Like it's the same thing on the field. What you see on the podcast, he'll be cracking a joke or he'll be doing something, and I'll say something that I don't agree. I'll be like, I don't agree with that.
I
And
love it.
it's so authentic. Like it's real. Like people like, are y'all really like, yes, like that is like we are so real.
And then if you have real
That is who we
chemistry,
are.
if you have real chemistry, it'll come off. You can tell.
Hmm.
So that's beautiful. That
Yeah,
so
and then
I
we don't use a script. So it's so
right.
unrehearsed. So it's real raw.
I love that. I'm gonna have to check y'all out. I'll ask you to give us the times and the days it comes out at the end. So I guess you got the name. You and Danny came up with the name Hits and Heels.
Danny came up
Or-
with the name hit. I can't even take no credit for
Okay,
anything with Hits and Heels. So Danny came up with Hits and Heels and I thought it was the bomb. So Hits
it
was
is a
more
bomb. I love
football,
it.
and then Heels was, dealt with the fact that we were both feminine women that were
Hmm.
coaching the game. We thought that it would kind of stay football, and we started it at one area, but then it just ended up just blossoming in other areas because I would just run into other people in the sports community, especially with me being a track coach.
Right.
I was like, I just have to have, and in basketball it had to be just about sports, period. And so I've been fortunate to have, oh my God, like people, like, who you need to get on your podcast. You need to call Coach Mouse. His name is Coach Mike Holloway, and he's the head track coach for Florida.
Okay.
He has won
For FAMU? For what? For who?
the University of Florida. He is a black coach for the University of Florida. He's been there forever, and for
Wow.
like 23 years. He has won 14 national championships, and he's won the last 3
Coach,
in a
send me his
row.
name in the chat when
Oh,
you
I
send
I
it.
absolutely will, because his story is actually, and he just came out with a book. I'm sorry, I got my background blurred out, but
Mhm.
I had him on, and he's got his book out, and it's just credible what's happening on it. And I had like Marion Washington, who was the very first black female coach in a PWI, has been on my show, and so
I was
just
checking her story out a few months ago.
because her book came out too. She put her book out too.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes. And her
I saw
book is,
her.
once you start reading her book, you will not be able to put it down because her story is unbelievable. Like she had her child at 14.
Mm,
And for her to be able to overcome all the stuff that she did and still be able to
absolutely.
be the pioneer that she did is just absolutely amazing. And
That's
so,
amazing.
I those are just two I mean, but I've had a lot of other great guests, and I'd be happy to share all my guests with you to put them
And
for you to
same
come
here.
on, because we're, again, we're still, I love celebrating people and giving them their flowers. And I
Right.
love, and so that's basically what my podcast, like, I like bringing on people that people either have forgotten about
Yes.
or they should know
I
about.
have a segment called Legends of the Sip, and I bring people like, well, he's not forgotten, but in Chris Jackson, aka, well, his name is Mahmoud Abdul Rauf now, aka Chris
Mhm,
Jackson, Lindsey Hunter. I've had them all on there. With Terry Cummins, he's not from Mississippi, but I was a DePaul Blue Demon fan when I was little,
mhm.
so he's one of my favorites. And so I agree with you. It's just don't forget about
Don't
the,
forget about
oh my
them.
gosh, they Audinaris, they were amazing,
Yeah,
amazing.
just don't forget about, and that's what I love about even being a part of the Lexington African American Sports Hall of Fame is I love bringing them in or bringing them on the podcast just to hear their story because,
Mhm.
like, I mean, some of them we still have to bring them on. We just it's just been
Right,
hard to get them booked. Like Dermontti Dawson has agreed to be on my podcast. I
nice.
mean, he's the best center of all time to me, right? And so
Mhm.
especially if you're a Steelers fan, and so, just people like him, uh T-Bone Shelby,
Mm,
he's got he was a baseball player, all his sons played baseball, but his wife's story and the level of support, like I think she was like the blueprint for me.
I love that.
Her level of support on how, because she I don't think she traveled with him. She basically stayed here in Lexington and raised the kids while
Mm,
she allowed him to be able to do play baseball, and then he became a general manager, um or a manager with baseball, and he has two um rings, and so just people like that, just hearing their stories is just absolutely amazing. And I didn't hear his story until we elected him into the Lexington African American Sports Hall of Fame, where you just get more in depth of their stories.
right. It's amazing. I love that. Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and you
Uh,
got to go back and listen to um one. I have to send it to you. It's the
yeah,
one with
send it to me.
Victoria Gay. Victoria Gay is Jazz from the American Gladiators. Did you watch the American Gladiators back in the day?
I did. I
And
remember
you
her
remember
name.
Jazz?
I remember her. I
Yes.
can't picture her face, but I remember her name.
Yes. Well, she's from Lexington
Hmm.
and again, three-time state champion in track and that type just but hearing her story, but when we elected her into the Hall of Fame and I'm the only person that she allowed to interview her on
I
on
love
their
it.
on their show because the people from Gladiators, they was trying to do like a reunion and
Mhm.
wasn't answering none of their calls.
I love it. Okay. I
But yeah,
love that.
I mean, we've had oh my God, you gotta get Valerie Steele on your show. Her book is unbelievable. She's still the all-time leading scorer and rebounder in Kentucky basketball history. Now look at all the great basketball players that have come out of Kentucky.
Oh
She
yeah.
still is number one man or woman
Are you serious?
leading, yes, ma'am, leading in rebounds and in scoring.
I gotta put her name on my list. Valerie
You
Steele.
gotta put her name on your list. Oh, so yes, oh yeah, girl. So I'll put you on to everybody because to me, their stories just need to be told, and everybody like that needs as much. She has a book as well, and she's doing some great things as well. There was just a stage play about her family um that was sold in
Wow.
slavery, and then two brothers, her uncle and like two of her uncles found each other like in the slave trade. Like it was
That's amazing.
unbelievable that she was able to um go back that far in history with her family. And they made a stage play here in Lexington. It was an opera play, opera stage play, and it was
Hmm.
absolutely
Bet it was amazing.
fantastic. And that was the first opera I had been to, but I had enjoyed it. But stuff like that, people like her,
Hmm.
and she's doing some other big things too. Definitely need to be, I'm always gonna be a proponent of elevating women in
Absolutely.
sports and that type of stuff. And then even like with asked me about the flag football. So we had our first ever girls flag camp
Hmm.
back in March or April like that. And we had like 51, 61 girls show up and it was amazing. We had four coaches that were there that were willing to give out scholarships. And so that was unheard of too. You don't have flag camps with flag coaches giving out scholarships, showing up to
Right.
those. So we were one of the first to kind of spearhead that, and now we kind of see them popping up everywhere now that we've kind of done it here in
Oh,
Kentucky.
yeah.
So I'm excited about that. I've already talked to a person at our Kentucky High School Association about bringing girls flag as a sanctioned sport in Kentucky, because Kentucky's usually behind on that type of stuff. And right now
That's
there are
relevant.
15 states that have girls flag as a sanctioned sport, and so hopefully we'll make the top 20. We'll
I
see.
love it. I love that. That is awesome, Coach. So, Coach, before I let you go, I have to ask your thoughts on the NCAA House settlement. According to Yahoo Sports, a California judge on the last Friday night granted approval to the NCAA's landmark settlement of three antitrust cases, often referred to as the House settlement, ushering in an era where schools are permitted to share revenue with athletes within a new enforcement structure led by the SEC, Big Ten, the Big 12, and ACC. Athletes in Division One schools will now get paid directly from the schools. What are your thoughts on this?
Because my son is a part of the SEC and the amount of money that he's making right now, I'm definitely all for it. But what I do like, what I would like to see a little bit more regulation, um, as far as like, not regulation, more education. What's
Mm-hmm.
missing is the financial literacy part. Like so
Yeah.
when these young men are getting these checks, or young women are getting these checks,
Mm-hmm.
it's not taxed. And so now there's a tax bill a lot. So how are they structuring their business? So now this has become a business. And so to
Yep.
me, there needs to be the financial literacy part, but they need a business coach, not
Yeah.
just a financial coach, but they need a business coach on how to structure their business so that they can take advantage of the tax write-offs and the stuff that they can do, and making sure that they're
Right.
compliant, and that they're setting aside money for taxes, and that they're doing things to where there's not a implication later on. That's the only part that I really feel like is not being is I don't think is not being stressed enough. So, um, but I love the fact that they can now take advantage of their name, image, and likeness, to
Mhm.
get paid. And even are there some parts of it that I still don't like? I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like the fact that a young man as a true freshman can come in and make more than a player that has been there for years, that has proven themselves, and then they're making more money. That makes absolutely no sense to me. So those are the type of areas where I hope that they kind of fix it. They put it like
Yeah.
on a tier, or and then the language in the contracts and stuff just really need to be just a little bit more where you
Mm-hmm.
earn it, as opposed to just giving them your money and it's unearned. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does. Absolutely. No, I'll move on. Coach, because I have my thoughts, but what does this do for other divisions and Title IX, like the SWAC, the smaller divisions, the conferences? What does this do for them in Title IX?
I think um I think it's gonna hurt. I think it hurts them
It
because they
does.
don't have the resources. HBCUs already didn't have the resources that
Mhm.
the other PWIs have, right? They're already at a disadvantage. And I think this puts them more at a even more disadvantage, because you don't have the alumni base that gives back,
Absolutely.
like they should. Now, I would, if I was at a HBCU, I mean, I don't know how you can make it happen, but I'm going on from the beginning of time, and I'm seeing who's still alive, and I'm looking at our full database, and I'm doing an all-out marketing campaign on them giving. I don't care if it's $10 a month back
And
to the athletic, so that we can help, and halfway, not even halfway, but so we can try to get to some type of part where they can get paid too, and where they can get compensated too. But now you probably need to bring in a marketing or an NIL guru to
Mhm.
those schools that don't have that type of revenue, so that they can find out, so they could teach, now they could teach you the marketing, how to set up your social media account, how do you
Mhm.
grow your followers. This is how you can be able to get sponsorships and stuff like that, because people are seeing what you're bringing to the table, and so
Right.
that's where their compensation is going to have to come from real NIL. Like that's what
Mhm.
NIL I thought was going to be when it first came out.
Yeah.
Not pay for play, or not just giving kids money just to be giving them.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? From the collective. I didn't know it was going to be that. I'm glad that my son benefited from that, but that wasn't how it was supposed to be set up. That it wasn't supposed to be that way. And so it's unfortunate that it's that way. But for the non-revenue sports, and for the HBCUs and the lower level schools, I think that it's going to be a struggle. But I think it opens opportunity for people that are like us, that are into sports, and you want to go into the marketing area, or you want to help in that area, and you can create probably your own job by being able to market and teach these schools how to help their athletes.
That's true. Last question, and no, I'm done. I'm not, because we'll be all night. We will be all night
Yes,
on.
ma'am.
Do you think it will be a mass exodus from HBCUs in athletics with this happening?
If they're seeing everybody else getting money, and then they're not getting money on the, yeah, I can see that. But if those schools aren't recruiting you, you don't have a choice but to go to a HBCU if
Yeah.
you don't get recruited, if you're not getting recruited by them, right? And um so then you go to the H. So what'll happen is, especially football players and basketball players, you'll go to the HBCU, you'll ball out, and then you'll hit the transfer portal, hoping that someone will pick you up.
Hmm. Yeah.
But that's a crapshoot unless you have um, good representation with someone that, again, you have to hire somebody. I know
Yeah.
somebody that does that. I know a scouting company that does that. That before you hit the transfer portal, they can kind of figure out if they can find you someplace else before you hit the portal, because a lot of kids are getting into the portal, and then you're not getting out of the portal. And
Yeah.
so that's the part that a lot of them are not I mean, like last year, I think there was like 7,800 football players in the portal, and then for 3,000 positions. So you used to
Somebody
have a
they didn't get
position.
out. Yeah, they used to have one.
You used to have a position. You used to have a scholarship offer, and
Right.
now you chose to go into the portal, and now you no longer have a
You have
scholarship offer.
nothing. Yeah. I don't. I have a problem with that because I I'm just, I went to I'm a Jackson State alum, so I am Tiger all day, forever and ever. So, it's amazing how, and it probably had nothing to do with it, but when Dion came here and Nick Saban felt like he took, with the Travis Hunter thing, and made a big stink about that, which it wasn't true. We didn't have any money to give Travis, not no millions of dollars. We didn't have that.
Absolutely, yeah,
They had NIL deals, but Jackson
right.
State did not have millions of dollars to give to Travis Hunter, and that's, so I feel like now it's like, well, now, and they kept certain conferences out. It's just, the SEC, the Big 12, I don't like
What is
that.
it, the power four?
The Power Four, and I get it. I understand Division One. I get that, but I have a problem with it, and hopefully things will change. I mean, this just happened, so we'll see, because we'll see.
I do have to say that when Dion went to Jackson, I was hoping that there would be a shift in players wanting to go to HBCUs as opposed to the
And
PWIs.
it
I
happened.
was hoping that would happen,
And
and
it happened.
until and then when he left, I was disappointed because I thought
Yeah.
that was what was going to be the trend,
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially now with Deshaun Jackson and Michael Vick and
Yeah.
Eddie George, and so players like that are now getting head coach. I thought that would be a trend, that all of these players that we've admired for years are now going to get these head coaching positions. And then now, because I'm gonna tell you right now, I want to go to that. Uh, is it Delaware State versus?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
want to go
I
to.
want to go to that game. I'm not even getting ready to fight with you. I want to be at that game. I
I'm gonna
want to
try to
be at
find a
that game.
way.
Yeah, I want to be at that game. And
Mhm.
so I was really hoping that would kind of be, I hope that would be a trend. So even like here in Kentucky, I I have a great relationship with the recruiting coordinator at Kentucky State University.
Mhm.
And so he and I are always in communication about, okay, well, who you got on your list from Lexington?
Mhm.
And then, or I'll say, hey, if such and such ain't on your list, make sure he get on your list, because I heard he doesn't have any offers. And I don't understand why he don't have any offers. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So, and I don't call any other school but Kentucky State when I'm trying to help a
Right.
young man or whatever get in to play football. Even track. I know one of the assistant track coaches is a really good friend. And so if there's somebody that doesn't get a scholarship, someplace else, or they at least look at their film and see what they look like, and put them on your list, and see if it's someone that can work for you. And so so one of the things that I love about, even on our podcast too, is we always talk about like the recruiting process, and we try to help a lot of families and stuff make that decision. We get
Yeah.
calls all the time
That's good.
about how should we do this. I had a couple the other day that called, and they were kind of battling because the son was 6, and the mom felt like the dad was pushing him a little bit too much, and the
Mhm.
dad was, so we were like, we gave them just two different perspectives on just how to look at stuff, and just
Right.
it now sports is a business. I don't
It's a
if
business.
you see your child has any type of athletic ability, I would try my best to push that issue.
I agree. It is
Now that they
definitely
can
a
get paid.
business, and it's time for like the smaller schools and different divisions. They're gonna have to up their recruiting. The AD got to come up with some money, and the people who always, I'm going to homecoming. You spending $2,000 just for one weekend, but you don't give back.
You don't
Give
give back.
back. My
Give
thing,
back.
and then your tickets, the what do you call it? The tickets, season tickets aren't even, not even a portion of how
Uh,
much
Them season tickets ain't nothing compared to
nothing.
Kentucky
And they
season
like, well, I'm
tickets.
not gonna be able to go. Okay, just give
Well,
it to the
just
school.
yeah,
And then
then
like
just give it to
on
the
dinner and
school.
lunch in one day. Just give it to the school.
Yeah.
So we have to
Yeah,
get
so that they
better.
can they can bless somebody else at the game. And those
Right.
schools, and again, and those schools need to get on all the ticket apps. They're not.
That's true.
So that people can sell and give their tickets away,
Yeah.
so that people can go into that. So even like one of the things that I said with we got a new coach here at Kentucky State, and I wanted to suggest, I said, I ain't telling you what to do. I said, but if I'm Kentucky State, I'm getting at least a 50% of my roster needs to be from Kentucky, because people are going to show up in the stands and come and support, as opposed to, they're not coming in from Florida and California and
Right.
Texas and New York and the East Coast. I mean, that's a long ride every weekend. But if you got a lot of now not just the mom and the dad can come, or just the mom or just the dad can come. Now you got family members and aunties and grandmamas and all them are coming to the games if you were
That's true.
recruit more in state. We were done. I had Coach Eric Gallant on my show right after they won the championship game. He's a running back coach for Jackson State.
Yeah, I know. That's dope. Yeah, it's been a great ride. So I'm hoping that keeps us afloat with, like we got some great recruits. We really do. So I think we'll be okay, but this does changes the game. So we shall see. We shall see. Well, Coach, thank you so much for coming on the show today. But before I go, we have a game we play called What You Know. And it's a way for me and the listeners to get to know the guest better. I'll ask you a few I'll ask you a few questions and you choose the best answer, okay? Or whatever. So we're gonna do, because I picked questions regarding flag football, but you are starting a flag football team, so and it probably can go for the tackle football team as well. So true or false? Jury is allowed during play.
False.
That is correct. False. Tackling is allowed in flag football.
False.
That is correct. True or false? Each team has 4 downs to score after they reach the center line.
False. They have 4 downs after wherever the ball is placed.
Correct. That is correct. I think this is my last true or false. True or false? Guarding the flag belt is prohibited.
Yes, true.
True. A score is how many points? 7, 5, 6, or 3?
6.
Correct. Which of the following mandates a dead ball? Is it when any part of the ball carries body other than the hands and feet touch the ground, an incomplete pass, a fumble, or the ball goes out of bounds?
What was the question again?
Which of the following mandates a dead ball? Is it when any part of the ball carries body other than the hands and feet touch the ground, an incomplete pass, a fumble, or the ball goes out of bounds?
All of the above.
That is correct. I was going to say now, Coach, wait a minute. At what angle does a player cut on a post route? Is it 45, 90, 67, or 30?
45.
Correct. When the defense catches a ball that was meant to be caught by the offensive team?
Interception.
Correct. Which of the following is allowed? Stiff arming, flag, guarding, juking, or spinning?
Which one is allowed or not allowed?
Which one is allowed? Stiff arming, flag guarding, juking, or spinning?
Juking.
Juking. Last one.
Yes, ma'am.
Movement across the line of scrimmage before the football is snapped. What is that?
A false start.
Offside. Yeah.
Oh, offside. Oh, for the offside. I'm sorry. Offside.
Coach, thank you so much for joining me again. Tell the listeners how they can follow you, how they can listen to the Hit and Heels podcast, and what days you guys are on and what times.
So if you go to CoachTerriBryant.com, just like that, just like how it is right on my name right here, CoachTerriBryant.com. One name.
Spell your name.
Everything is TerriBryant.com. So, but it's CoachTerriBryant.com. Everything is on there. So there should be a link on there where if you want to be a guest, there's a guest link on there. The link to go to my podcast or on the YouTube channel is on there. On the YouTube channel, if you go to the live tab, you'll see all of them there because we actually go live. And you can get my son's jerseys off of there. You can get my daughter has a journal that she put out. She's an entrepreneur. then that's on that's on there, and a lot of my previous podcasts, and I'll make sure I put a link on this one. We'll get added to that too. I appreciate you so much for having me on. Oh, but the Hits and Heels is on. We're on tonight. Actually, we're on at every Wednesday night at 9:00 Eastern Standard Time. And it's live on Facebook.
I love it. I love it. And guys, you can follow me at She Say Sports on Facebook, She Say Sports 23 on Instagram, and please subscribe to our YouTube page, She Say Sports. Well, that's my show for today. Until next time, this is Sonia with She Say Sports.
She say sports. She say sports. She say sports.